I need to change this charging thing, Laura.
But Sarah, Karen,
I need to change the charging thing.
okay,
I can charge yours on a different plug. But I need to charge.
sure, no problem.
Charge mine.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
Bruchim Abayim, you are very welcome. I'm Rabbi Gershon Kwasniewski, and this is the adult education space for Temple Bethel. And I'm really very happy to see so many members for our temple because today it's an important meeting. Today we are going to know better Ruth Geller life and why I decided to meet Ruth Geller in this last weekend because last Tuesday was Yom HaShoah v'HaGevurah, the Holocaust Day of Remembrance, and Ruth Geller is one of the survivors of the Shoah. He is one of our members who survived the Shoah. Last year, I did an interview, and we had a very nice dialogue with Susie Koppel, who joined us today too. And I said to Ruth, okay, next year will be you. And I keep, and I'm a person that what I say I'm doing. And then I went till LA to meet Ruth Geller. And really, I was, Karen, very, very happy to meet your mother because she received me in a great, with a very good energy. And I was surprised because she was really very happy to see me. And I share with her the hug and the kisses that you sent to her. But let's start our meeting. I did a small research about Ruth Geller life, and it's really fantastic that you are here, Karen, because I would like also your help because we have the survivor and you are the first generation. And we as a community, we consider ourselves also part of this family. But it's your mother and you know her better than us. But let's start to share and to see Ruth Geller life. Okay, here is Ruth. This is the picture that I took with her last weekend in LA. And here, okay, we have a small bio of Ruth Geller. Karen, do you like to read? Do you like to introduce your mother for us, please?
Okay. So Ruth Geller Ginsburg, born on April 10th, 1933 in Marostra, Ostrava, Czechoslovakia, now Ostrava, Czech Republic, discusses her mother, Blanche Basha Ehrlich Ginsburg, born March 13th, 1904 in Krakow, Poland, and her father, Gerson Ginsburg, July 7th, 1897 in Svinov, Czechoslovakia. Her parents work in the fur trade. Her brother, Oscar, he died young of a heart attack while living in the United States and having a comfortable childhood before the war, being raised religious. Her father was Orthodox. The arrival of the Germans in Marostra Ostrava in 1939, going with her mother and brother to the port of Gdynia and taking the ship across the English Channel, living initially with her great aunt in Stamford Hill in London, England, and then living with her father after he recovered from a heart attack, being evacuated to Kensington during the war outside of Oxford multiple times between 1941 and 43, attending a Catholic school in a convent while living in London, being allowed with other Jewish children to attend, and going to the underground during the bombings of London, being part of the Zionist youth organization B'nai Akiva, the end of the war, moving to the United States in 1948, sailing on the SS de Grasse, and living with her maternal aunt, Lena Ronga, and Uncle Henry Ehrlich in Manhattan, attending the Long Island City High School, her father's death in 1948, attending the Baruch School, working at the Gertz department store, and eventually becoming an assistant buyer for the children's department, moving to California with her husband and attending graduate school in California for business administration and marketing at the California State University at San Bernardino, teaching at Cal State San Bernardino, her mother's death in 1993, and her cousin Svi Bar-Lev, who wrote a book, Would God It Were Night.
Thank you very much, Karen, for introduce this bio for your mother. Then we have the Czech Republic. Okay, here is the country, and here is the city, Ostrava. Okay, you have exactly in the opposite side, Prague. Here it's Ostrava near the border with Poland and Slovakia, Austria in the south, Germany in the north. Okay, and when I was talking with Ruth, she mentioned that she escaped, or she went to London in a ship, and I said, where is the river? Where is the port? Okay, where is the port in the Czech Republic? They don't have a port here, and he spoke about Gdynia. Okay, look here. We have here another map. Here is Ostrava, and here is the port.
Well, I can give you some more information about that.
Please.
So, in August of 1939, my grandma Blanche's father was dying of a terminal illness, and Grandma Blanche was able to convince the Czechoslovakian occupied authorities, the Germans that were in Czechoslovakia, was able to convince them to let Blanche and her two children go to Krakow, Poland to visit the dying grandfather. And he died in August of 1939, and they sat Shiva for 7 days, and then they went to Gdynia. And they asked all their relatives that were at the Shiva to go with them to London, and no one else besides Blanche, Oscar, and Ruth went. And my grandfather was already in London because he was a fur trader, and he had been in Canada trading furs, and he would travel across by ship. And he was back in London, and he was going to meet them in London after they went to Gdynia.
Thank you very much, Karen. Here you have just an idea. Yes, Ostrava and the port of Gdynia in the north of Poland, near other important port that it's Gdansk. But just to have an idea, yes, I put in the Google Maps, this is really far, more than 10 hours, okay, to arrive from one city to the other. Of course, that they went to the Shiva before, but what I'm trying to show you in this map, that it was really far, one place for the other, and they cross, yes, of course, the border from one country to the other, and many difficulties in the trip. And Ruth was just 5 years old. Okay, we need to remember this. She was a child, and it was I'm sure that it was not simple and easy. Here we have the sheep, okay? This is the grass. The grass, it's a French sheep that received the name of a French city in the south of France. But I did the research. I put the name of the sheep, and this picture appears. I'm thinking that it's a real picture for the sheep that your mother went to came to America. In this sheep, it's a sheep that also used to go from Europe to New York City. And here, before we start to talk about Ruth's life, I would like to give you an entire picture about the situation of the Jews in Czechoslovakia before the Holocaust, before the World War II. They were about 120,000 Jews in the Czech lands, mainly in Bohemia and Moravia. Many live in Prague, where a rich Jewish cultural life flourished with synagogues, schools, and strong integration into society. Really, if you have the opportunity or if you visited Prague, it's one of the most beautiful synagogues that you can visit in the entire Europe that the Nazis didn't destroy. Really, it's a huge synagogue, very beautiful. If you have the opportunity, go and visit. During the Nazi occupation in 1939, Adolf Hitler, Ymar Shemo, occupied the country, established the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, and from that point on, anti-Jewish laws were enforced. Exclusion from jobs and education. Remember, if you was working for a public institution like university, hospital, or any other institution, you was not allowed to work. If you was a student, you didn't have the right to continue your studies. Confiscation of property and obligation to wear the yellow star. We have the Theresienstadt ghetto camp. One of the most significant places was Theresienstadt. Also, we know this ghetto as Terezin. It functioned as a ghetto and transit camp. The Nazis used it for propaganda. The Nazis used to invite the Red Cross to visit the ghetto and to show how well were the Jews. And they have a theater, and they have a dining room, and it was a ghetto where the Jews had their own currency. Crazy things. And apparently they showed that life was normal, but it was just a detention camp. It was not nothing terrible. This is the reason that the Nazis used this place as propaganda and presented as a model settlement. About 140,000 Jews passed through it. However, tens of thousands died there for hunger and disease. Most were deported to extermination camps such as Auschwitz. Deportation and extermination between 1941 and 1945, approximately 80,000 Czech Jews were murdered. Only about 10,000, 15,000 survived, and Ruth Geller is one of them. Deportations were systematic and organized from cities like Prague. After the war, after 1945, the Jewish community was devastated. Many survivors emigrated to Israel and elsewhere, United States and elsewhere. Under the communist regime, Jewish religious life was restricted. And this is another story inside the Holocaust, and specifically when the communist regime arrived to the cities were under control by the Nazis, because they were also very rigid with the Jewish community. It was not so simple life. First of all, the problem were the Nazis. Then when the Nazis went out and entered the communities, also was hard for Jews. And today the Jewish community in the Czech Republic is small but active, especially in Prague. There are very, very nice synagogues in Prague, not just the big one that I mentioned before. There is a synagogue called La Española, very beautiful. If you have the opportunity, please go. Okay, this is just an introduction about the situation in Prague. And now I'm going to share with you a video with our dear Ruth. What I would like to say to you, please pay attention about the words that Ruth is talking about. And there are a few words that she repeats many times. And it's not a mistake, and it's not because she forgot what she was talking about. I'm thinking that she repeat these words because the pain and how hard it was for her specific situations, and then you can understand why she repeats certain words. We are going to watch the video, and we are going to discuss later on, and I would like to listen your feelings, Karen, after we watch the video. Ruth Geller,
yes,
our dear member, thank you for receiving us in your home here in LA. It's a pleasure to be here visiting you, and I coming with a lot of hugs and kisses from the TVE members. And I decided to come here to visit you because these days we are going to remember Yom HaShoah v'HaGevurah, the Holocaust Remembrance Day, and you are one of our members who survived the Holocaust. And I would like to ask about your story. We have the opportunity to listen our dear Ruth Geller, and she's a witness, and our generation studied the Shoah through conversation with survivors and opening books and knowing what happened in the history. But in the case of Ruth, nobody talked this story. This story is her life. How we can start, where we can start, where you was before the World War II.
yeah, we were very successful and involved with the family and children in all kinds of activities. And then my father went to England on business, and we stayed in Czechoslovakia, Moravská Ostrava, my mother, my brother, and I. And it was invaded. I remember the Germans marching in, you know, with the Heil Hitler on the ship, on the cars. And at first, you know, they want you to talk. They'd say, oh, you know, I have children like you at home. But it didn't last very long because they really didn't care to have us do anything. And we didn't have food, we didn't have, we were treated very badly, actually. But my mother was a charmer, and she spoke to a German consular fellow in Moravská Ostrava, and she told him that her father, my grandfather, was in Krakow, Poland, which is a train ride away. We used to go back and forth all the time to the family. And she said, he's dying, and I would like to have my children go and say goodbye to him. And by chance, he let her go on the train without anything. You know, no luggage, no clothes, just what we were wearing. And we went, and at first we were treated very badly. We didn't have food. They treated us pretty badly, but
let's go a little back. How old was you at that time?
oh, I was very young. It was 1938. I was 5 years old.
5 years old.
I
And
was
how
born in 33.
and how was your life before the war?
It was very
What do you
good.
remember before the war? How was your life?
Very good. We had all kinds of activities and parades, and you know, for Mother's Day we had special things. But then when the Germans came in, it all left, and they didn't give us even enough food to eat.
You talk about Czechoslovakia. Do you remember the Jewish community? You was very young. You was a
Right.
child, but do you remember you used to attend the Jewish school,
Yes,
the
we
temple?
did.
How
We did.
how was your Jewish life?
It was very active until the Germans marched in. Very active, and we were very involved. We did parades, and I was all of 5 years old. you know,
Yes.
born in 33. And things were really pretty bad.
And what do you remember about your neighbors in that time? Do you have memories with your neighbors, to play with them, friends?
No. You know, once the Germans marched in, they started not wanting to associate with the Jewish children. As I told you, my father did go to London on business, and he stayed there, and we stayed in Czechoslovakia in Moravská Ostrava. And my mother was able to talk the German into letting us take the train, just with the clothes on our back, you know, no luggage, nothing, to go to see the dying grandfather. And so it was pretty scary, but we did go, and we had very little to eat, very little food, and we were pretty mistreated. The Germans would always say, oh, you know, we have children like you back home, and some of them, you know, tried to give us an extra something. But we did go to Poland, and we actually got to see my grandfather, and my mother went, and he died, and she sat Shiva with the family, and the children just stayed around. But then we had to go back, you know, because we weren't, Poland hadn't yet been in, that was before it was invaded. This all happened within a short period of time, and I was little, so I just went with the flow. When they told me to go somewhere, that's where I went. So we went back, and it was very, very difficult. We didn't have enough food or anything else, but my mother was able to get things that, you know, ordinarily people couldn't get.
And did you have a communication? You mentioned that your father went for a business trip to London. Did you have a communication with him during this period or not?
Yeah,
Did you
my
talk?
mother was able to communicate with him. he wasn't able to come back, and we weren't able to go. At that point, it was invaded, and we weren't even allowed to go to Poland, except that my mother talked the German commandant into letting her go see the dying grandfather, and he died. So she was there with the children. I mean, I was all of 5 years old, so.
But it was difficult for a child, 5 years old, just 5 years old, to understand that you can see your father or you can take
Right.
a luggage. Do you
No.
remember what your mother talked to you?
Yeah, we couldn't do anything. We just went with the clothes on our back, and then we returned back to Czechoslovakia again, and it was very, very difficult. My father, kept communication with my mother through some kind of, I don't know what, I mean, I was very little. And we actually ended up going to Poland or to Krakow without luggage or anything else, just with the clothes on our back. I mean, when I think about it, it's just a miracle how I survived at all, because being so young, sometimes the Germans would think, oh, I have children at home. But in general, they were not very kind, not very good.
And did you spend the entire war with your mother? Or
Pretty much it ended up that we did, because it ended up that we left Czechoslovakia just with the clothes on our back, went to Krakow. Poland was not yet invaded. This was in 1939, but before September. And we ended up again with the clothes on our back and walking through Poland with my mother and my brother. We actually walked. How old was I? I was 5 years old. And we got down to the port. It was called Gdynia. And it's a port that was kind of back and forth from Poland and Germany. And we were able to get on eventually, after hiking through Poland with the clothes on our back, we were able to get on the boat. And it was very rough seas, and we were very sick. The English Channel was very rough, but we were all of 5 years old, and we did all this because of my mother. My father was still in London. Meanwhile, he was having his first heart attack, with all the stress and everything else. But he was working in London and in England.
did you have other relatives with you in Czechoslovakia?
No,
Just you, your mother, and your
Right.
brother?
my grandparents lived in the country. They had a house that we used to go visit, and they then became interned also, and they suffered. Yeah, everybody suffered, I'll tell you that. How we made it through those days, I will never know. I have to give my mother and the rest of the family a lot of credit. And as I said, grandfather died. She sat Shiva. She wanted to take the other children, like my cousins, and they said, don't worry, he's got Czechoslovakia, he's not going to bother with Poland. This was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks before. How all of this happened and how we survived is a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. And I have to give my mother a lot of credit, because she decided we're not going to stick around because he's not going to be satisfied. He's going to keep going. And we wandered through Poland to this port that then took us through the English Channel in rough seas, and we were very sick, to London. And we actually got to London, and my father was actually in the hospital with his first heart attack, you know, with all the stress.
Do you remember how was that meeting to meet your father?
It was very difficult, right? We didn't go to the hospital. You know, my mother said, your father's ill. He's going to have to recover. You just have to be good and do what you're told to do and do it. And that's what we did. My brother and I tried to help. We lived with my grandmother's sister, who lived at 6 St. Andrew's Grove, which is in London. We lived in her house, and I mean, it was just amazing. I don't know how we survived.
And tell me, of course, yes, you move from one country to the other. How about the language? Yes, you change Europe and your home, and then you move to London. What about English?
We had to learn it.
Yes.
You know, when you're young like that,
Yes, it's easy.
it's easy and you pick up.
But did you speak before?
No.
No.
No, we didn't. We certainly hadn't visited London. We hadn't done anything, but we were lucky that we got out of Czechoslovakia, got into Poland, got out of Poland, got into London. I mean, it's just like an amazing miracle. I mean, I just feel
Your
it
blessing.
was shared, and it was a blessing, and somebody was watching. I don't know who it was, but God or someone else was watching over, and we were young, and there I met other children who were refugees like me, and we became friends, and we went to school, and the only school was a convent, a Catholic school, where they took the Jewish children, and they even allowed us. I had chutzpah, and I asked if we could bring in, when they had catechism, if we could bring in our cantor, our chazan, and we brought him in to give lessons in the Catholic school. And actually, through the years, I've stayed in touch with the people that I knew from the Catholic school.
Very good.
It's just, you know, it's like crazy. But
Do you believe in God, Ruth?
yeah, I do.
Yes.
I do believe that there is a power besides me, besides you. There is a stronger power that does, you know, watch over, doesn't always save. You know, a lot of people were killed. A lot of children were killed. I mean, we were pretty lucky that we managed to escape. I mean, remember, we were very young.
It was easy for you to talk with your kids about Holocaust, or because there are many parents that in the first years or they try not to share their own stories because they don't like.
No, we actually did. We talked about it. My mother was very open. The family was very open.
No, but I'm talking that you share your own story with your kids.
You mean now?
With Karen, with Mark.
Oh, yes. Yes, they know all the stories.
But always you talk with them.
Yes.
Because there are many survivors who deny to talk about the Holocaust with their own
Right.
families.
No. I think it's important to talk because it's important to know what should be done, what shouldn't be done. You know, so
How we can explain what is hate? how it can be people trying to kill other people just by their religion, their culture.
It's
How
unbelievable.
we can explain what is hate?
Yeah, it's very difficult to explain. Very difficult, but it's there anyway. It's there anyway. But a lot of times, some of the people that ordinarily would hate you, like in this school, we became best friends with the other students who were good. They were good students, and we were competing who would get the best marks. You know, so it's sometimes it seems like it's crazy that that goes on, but you live in different situations and you do the best you can in each situation. Even today, it's the same thing, whether it's here, you know, in this rest home, there were better things that can be done and things that are not so good. And you try to take advantage and help where you can. I mean, I think that's something that I learned from my mother, that no matter what goes on, you have to try to do the best you can to help other people.
Did you return to Czechoslovakia?
Yes, we did.
How was this trip?
Well, we did it, you know, by that time the Russians were in already. You know, the Russians had taken over, but we actually went and we used to have where the store was. So we did go back. And from there, we went on to Israel. You know, after stopping Czechoslovakia, we went to Israel. And I'm a very big supporter of Israel.
Very good.
And trying to make it a place for everyone. You know, different people, different, as they say, different strokes for different folks. And you have to learn to get along with other people, even though they may not think the way you do. I learned this from my mother. You're open.
Do you think that people nowadays in the 21st century can understand what was the Holocaust? There are some people who deny the Holocaust. They said it's a story that the Jews created. They try to change the story. They try to review the story. How it can be just a couple of years after the Holocaust and we still have a generation of survivors, right, that there are people who continue to hate the people of Israel, and they said that it's not true.
We do go back. You know, we went back to the concentration camps. We saw, you know, the bunks where we used to have to stay. So, you know, we have gone back and have taken our family so that they know this actually happened and we survived it. And this is why it's important to have a country like Israel available, or Palestine, so that you have a place that you can go and you can worship. You know, not everybody does it the same way, but you're pretty flexible.
Before you went to London, did you stay for a couple of time in a concentration camp? Or not?
Not really. No.
Or a detention camp, or?
Yeah, they did put us someplace, but we weren't there long enough to suffer, and we were young, you know, 5 years old. So you don't even realize that you're suffering or that you don't have the food that you're supposed to have. So, you know, we just, I learned this, I guess, from my mother. You try, and my father, you try to do the best you can with what you have. And it's not always what you want.
And what represent nowadays to have a plate of food every day in your table?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And there's still plenty of people that don't have it, that go hungry today. And this is why I believe in when you're out of the camps and working in a lot of these charities that provide food for people that don't have it, because we know how important it is.
Tell us, you are talking about your story in London, in England, how you arrived to America.
Okay, how did we arrive to America? That's a good question. I had an uncle here.
Ernie,
No,
No.
his name was Henry,
Henry, not
and he
Ernie.
lived on 8th Avenue. He actually left Poland. He didn't like what was going on in Poland with his family. People were being conscripted into the army, and so he just went out on his own, and he traveled throughout Europe and made it to America. And there he actually established himself in a business, and he's the one that eventually we came to America and stayed with in his apartment on 8th Avenue, until we were able to get our own place in Queens and
This was in New York City, yes?
in New York, right?
Yes.
So we lived in Manhattan, and they took us to school, and we tried to live as normal a life as you could. It was not easy, but Uncle Henry had this business, which was very successful. It was a 5 and 10 cent store on 9th Avenue. And he actually later did a program with Truman when Truman did a documentary. His store was across the street, and he has pictures with Truman, and it's a crazy world. I mean, the connections that we have.
Very, very strong connection. And this is the
Truman,
yes.
Truman really was very helpful, in establishing Israel and recognizing the Jewish people. So, you take it as it comes.
And this is the first time in America, in New York City. And tell us how you arrived to California.
Well, what happened was my mother and father decided, fortunately my father died suddenly later, but we've had a lot of tragedy that way. They decided to open up a branch of this Victory 5 and 10 in Queens. The store that my uncle had on 8th Avenue in New York, 9th Avenue actually, to open the business in Queens. And we found an apartment where we lived and worked, and it was a variety store. We called it a 5 and 10 like Woolworth, but it had, all kinds of, even different foodstuffs, hardware, you name it, you could find it at the Victory 5 and 10. So, and my mother was always a very successful businesswoman, and my father too. But unfortunately, he'd already had his first heart attack, and then he actually, usually he went to shul. He was pretty religious. He went to shul every Shabbos, and I would go with him. But this one time, I was tired, and I didn't go, and he went on his own, and he actually had an aliyah, and had another heart attack and died on the spot, and I wasn't there.
Wow.
And that almost killed me. I was ready when we went to the funeral home to jump into the coffin with my father, because I felt so guilty that I wasn't there to save his life.
Yeah, but
Well, you never know.
yes,
I mean, I'm
yes.
not saying I could have saved his life,
yes.
but you always feel I should have done this or I should have done that.
But he died like a tzaddik.
Yes.
Yes, at the bima, reading Torah, or at the
Yeah.
temple.
Yeah. No, he did. He did.
Okay, but you
So-
don't need to feel guilty for this.
No.
This is destination. This is not
That's-
nothing. Perhaps you, if you was there, perhaps the same was happened. But
Right.
don't feel guilty for this,
No.
Ruth.
No.
And
So-
tell me, you have 3 kids, and for all the history that it's your own history, which is the legacy that you would like to share, or you shared with your kids, with your grandkids, grandkids.
Yeah.
What is the legacy that you would like to give to them, to
Yeah.
say, to explain, to teach to them?
Yeah. No, we do try. We think it's very important that they know how important it is to participate and to help other people.
This is a key word that you mentioned many times: help other people.
Right.
And this is very, very important mitzvah. Yes, it's a very important commandment. Is it any other thing that you would like to share about your story, your personal story, the story of Ruth?
Nothing in particular, just what I've told you. I feel very blessed that I've been able to do what even though even now I've suffered my own tragedies. You know, a son who was a doctor who helped other people, and then he himself had a heart attack, you know, and died. But he left a legacy.
We are very sorry for this.
I have pictures of him. I think you've seen them. Pictures of Josh, Sion, and Hadar, the little girl, and now Chaim, the boy, who's just a couple of weeks old.
Okay.
So, and he's talking about maybe coming out to the States later this summer. I don't know.
But this is your victory.
Yes.
When we are talking about Holocaust, when we are talking about the legacy, to have a strong family, Jewish family,
Yeah,
with Jewish values,
we do. We
this
have.
is
This
very
is
nice.
true. I
You
mean, just had, as we told you,
No, I can go elsewhere.
30 people.
And your birthday too.
And
No, I don't have a key.
so I have a lot to be grateful for.
Ruth, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for receiving me
Well,
here
listen.
in LA. And I know that there are many people in Riverside who miss you.
Yeah, and I miss them, but I enjoy getting the news and talking to them on the phone and on WhatsApp. You know, I do what I can.
And we are very happy every time that we know that you are online with us,
Right.
participating in
the
our
service.
online service. This is very, very important for us. This is a way that we are finding together to remember the Yom HaShoah v'HaGevurah, the day, the Holocaust Memorial Day.
I have to be very grateful for everything that has gone on. I mean, by all rights, I shouldn't be here, so the fact that I'm here and able to talk about the story, very lucky.
Thank you for your courage, for your energy, and I know that it's not easy to remember a sad time in our lives, but it's important to know and to share your story because you are a direct witness for this story and this day.
Well, and I appreciate your help in making the effort to get the news out.
No, it's my pleasure, and I'm so happy to meet you and to see that you are well, and your new home is a very warm place with nice people, and we would like to wish you the best.
Thank you.
And let me tell you, I arrived just 2 days after Ruth's birthday. Then let's conclude with a happy birthday to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Toda rabah. Shalom, shalom, lahitraot. Yes.
It was a nice conversation that I share with Ruth Geller. I'm thinking that there are a lot of things to remember for this conversation. Very nice and very deep conversation with Ruth. It's not easy to remember. I was working in Buenos Aires, in the Holocaust Museum, and you know that I'm a journalist, and I was the producer of the Holocaust radio program in Buenos Aires, and I had the opportunity to interview many survivors, and I taking care about the questions. It's very important when you talk with a survivor, which kind of questions you ask. You need to protect them. If you are taking them to a Zoom that it's very difficult for them to remember, you need to change the question quickly. Karen, I would like to listen your first feelings about this conversation. What do you, as first generation of the survivor, what you can add about this conversation that they have with your mother?
Well, it was a tragedy that she lost many of her extended family that were in Krakow, Poland. And some of them went to Auschwitz and worked in Auschwitz. And her cousin Svi was about 15, and he was sent to Auschwitz, lost weight, and was, terrible conditions. And during the march from Auschwitz, Svi's father died in his arms. And Svi's mother, Sala, was Grandma Blanche's sister. And so they ultimately ended up going to Cyprus, and then eventually Sala and Svi went to Israel and became citizens of Israel. And Svi wrote a book about our family story called Would It Not Be for Night, or something like that. And so there was other young cousins that were cousins of my mom. They were the daughters of Sala. There was a daughter of Sala, Panina, and there was two other cousins, Ada and Olga. And these children were around the same age as my mom, about 4 or 5 years old. And they were hidden during the Holocaust by Franca Barrel with her 3 children. So Franca Barrel took 6 children and went through Europe, and there's a story written by the one of Franca Barrel's daughter called The Right Time to Speak. And in that book, Franca Barrel was able to recall, I mean, not Franca Barrel, but Annetta, her daughter, was 15 when my mom was 5. And so Annetta was able to describe all the places in Krakow that she remembers, her school and her synagogue. And Annetta's father was also a furrier. And so my grandfather and Annetta's father were colleagues and in, you know, business in the same field. And so as I read this book, The Right Time to Speak, I could see the life that they had before the war. And it's a vivid description, and I couldn't put down this book. And Annetta is not my cousin. She's Ada's cousin, and Ada is my mom's cousin. So Annetta is the cousin of a cousin. So she's not my own cousin, but she described what my mom's life was like before the war in vivid detail. And so these 6 children ended up going to Israel, and my mom speaks to Ada, her cousin, frequently. And so my mom would go to Israel and see all the Israeli cousins who were survivors of the Holocaust. And they all had children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. And my mom and dad were able to stay in touch with all of this family and be caring and loving. And that's why they have such a connection to Israel, was because part of the family from Grandma Blanche ended up in Israel. And the other feeling I had was, you know, we talked about my mom's story and what happened in Riverside, but we didn't talk at all about her involvement at Temple Bethel. And my mom was on the welcoming committee at Temple Bethel for years and years, and welcomed a lot of the members that are there and or were there. And she was so connecting that she would know all the children in Temple Bethel, like Carolee. And as they were growing up, you know, she would attend their B'nai mitzvahs. And so when she would go to a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah, this 13-year-old knew my mom, because she was at Temple all the time and watching the children grow and connecting with them. And so she had a lot of love and care of Temple Bethel. And she was also part of the women's division of the United Jewish Appeal that raised funds for helping the temple and helping local Jewish community causes. And it also sent money as well to Israel to support Israel. And she did that with Anita Cannell and Terry Metch and Carolee and the Kustners. And so she was very involved in Temple Bethel her whole adult life.
This is the reason that I called you yesterday, because I wanted to your help to talk more about your mother. I see here in the screen it's another Geller, Ben Geller. I don't know if Ben would like to talk about Ruth's story or his feelings about. I know that he entered when we were watching the conversation, but if you like to open your microphone, Ben.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. I mean, I think Karen and my grandma pretty much covered everything, but you know, for me, I think just growing up, my grandma was just always you know, such a personality, and just the values. I think that, you know, I think throughout the story, everything that she learned from her mother, and everything that she went through, like those values of just constant optimism, even in the spite of everything that she went through, was really impactful. Yeah, I mean, just hearing her story, I mean, each time it's really special. And I'm just glad to be a part of a family that, you know, has such a wonderful person, I guess.
And tell me, Ben, or Karen, the question is for both. When Ruth is with you, is she talking about Holocaust, or are you asking about Holocaust, the Holocaust period?
Neither. We're talking about the current family and
Oh, of course, but specific about this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I mean, it's definitely something that, like she said, that I think it's been important to pass on her experiences, and just even though it's painful and there was a lot of, difficult times, that I think it was just really important for her, and for my dad and for Karen and everyone to learn and to teach us about.
when she was still in Riverside and she was still driving, she and Susie would go to the local schools and give talks to the children in the public schools. So that was a way that she shared the story.
Great, great. I had a meeting recently with our students for the Sunday school, and I suggest them to invite Susie or to listen Ruth's story, because it's a great opportunity to have this direct contact. And
Rabbi, when I came to the United States, I came on the SS de Grasse,
the same ship.
the same ship, but I came in 49 and Ruth in 48.
Good. And Susie, you are also a survivor of the Shoah. I introduce you in that way. Perhaps there are some people who don't know you, but most of our members know that you are also a survivor. When you meet with Ruth, did you talk about Holocaust or not? When you met with Ruth?
Well, I knew her story, but we talked about present days but I years ago I learned her whole story, and I miss her.
We know. We are going. What I said to Ruth, that we are going to organize a visit. I'm going to drive you till LA, okay? And we are going to organize a visit to be with her. I would like to open the floor to others, okay? And I would like to listen your thoughts about this conversation that I had with Ruth. Your thoughts about Shoah, Holocaust in general. I can't listen your voice, Carly. If you are talking, you need to unmute.
Apparently you're muted.
Yep, I know. I got it. Okay,
Yes.
say it again, please.
No, no. If you can share with us your thoughts about this conversation or your meetings with Ruth.
Oh, well, Ruthie is wonderful, and I've heard these stories. I couldn't imagine what she went through, what her family went through during all this time. And getting here to Riverside. I mean, here we have Susie too, these very special people who have survived all of this, and they're here with us in our wonderful community. So I think that Ruthie and Susie are really very special people, and are worthy of our love and our respect and our amazing. It's so amazing that they're here with us.
Thank you. I love
It's
all of you.
yes, love you so dearly. And when we first came here, not knowing these stories, it's just like Ruthie and Arnie got here with to California on with the Army or the Air Force, one of the things like Robbie and I did. And then little by little, we know all these stories. But at the beginning, we had no idea of what they went through to get here. I'm still amazed, frankly, and love Ruthie with all my heart. And hope we'll see her soon, hopefully.
Of course. Thank you, Carolee. I wrote some words that Ruth spoke many times. One of them that he spoke many times was about food. Okay,
Yeah, she did.
many times about food. How central was her mother in this story, and how she recognized the credit. She is giving credit for her mother. Two little childs trying to survive in the middle of Europe, trying to cross Europe to go from Czech to Poland, and from Poland to England, and how she recognized her mother. And also she mentioned many times the word miracle. And her feelings also when she was not there, when her father passed away. It's not easy. Sometimes many survivors are feeling guilty about some things. It's very common. But it's nice to see how they share with us hope, and also the message: you must do all that it's possible to help the others. Kindness, to practice mitzvot, to help others. And she explained how important it was for her when she came here to Riverside to participate and to provide food and charity for many institutions and poor people. Sometimes when we have a plate of food and when we open our refrigerator, we can't imagine their lives and how they suffer for a piece of food. It's impossible for us. Yes, thank God we open the refrigerator and we find food. But this is something common when you talk with the survivors, how difficult was their alimentation. They didn't have food, and they were not allowed to enter to the supermarkets, or they didn't have enough money sometimes to buy food. And it was not allowed sometimes for Jews to enter to the supermarkets. It was really hard. We can imagine. We receive the information, we read the information, we listen about the story, but it's also difficult to understand the entire picture, how difficult was the situation. And this is one of the explanation why after the war, the Yiddish mame try always to provide food to their kids. It's a way to protect them. Do you like more food? It's not enough. Please eat a little more. I have another plate, an extra plate for you. And this and that. Sometimes we laugh, but it's a reason. And the reason was the memory, the sad memory that they didn't eat, or they didn't have food, or they didn't have food to provide to their kids. That also always the Yiddish mommy tried to provide food. Do you like an extra portion? Do you like this? And if you leave your plate with half of the food, the Yiddish mommy asked, you didn't like my food? Like she trying to to do it, that you are feeling guilty because you didn't finish the food. But it's a reason. It's a reason. You listen many times that they didn't have food, and they trying to correct and to do exactly the opposite that they live. Okay, we didn't have food. Let's try to provide food for our kids and for the next generations. Other thoughts, please.
Rabbi,
Yes, Adrian.
I very much have listened with such interest because I was very close to Blanche, as I am to Ruth, and Ruth speaks so beautifully about her mother Blanche, and Blanche shared a lot of her story with me, and Ruth speaks of Blanche's strength, and I've seen that passed down to it's emotional for me, but I've seen it passed down at Ruth's strength. She and her mother both lost a son, and it carries on with these females, Blanche, Ruth, Karen. It's a strength, and it reminds me, Blanche had this saying that she would mention many times, and she'd say, Adrian, I think people are made of iron for what we have to go through. And she's right. I think that what she says is so true, that we have the ability to survive. And I'm just so grateful that Blanche was in my life, and Ruth and Karen, and I've seen this strength. But the other thing I did want to mention, that Ruth's cousin, Zvi Bar-Lev, who wrote the book, I believe that book is still for sale in our gift shop. And it's an extraordinary journey that Zvi Bar-Lev undertook with the in the Shoah, and I highly recommend it. He and his wife Marguerite were visiting Arnie and Ruth invited people over to meet them. What an absolutely lovely couple. And when we were in Israel, my husband and I, they invited us to their home, and I called him, but we couldn't get together. But anyway, Ruth, we miss you and we love you. And thank you for sharing your story. And by the way, I often hear a slight English to your accent. I think the time in England never left you. But anyway, thank you, and thank you, Karen, and thank you, Rabbi, for doing this. It was incredible. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Yes, Elise.
Yes, I have two short memories. First, for Ruth. Well, I came a little later to the temple than some of the others. My husband and I, when we moved here, and Ruth, she was on that committee for the welcoming, and I just admired her. I couldn't believe how kind and good she was. And Karen, also, just both of you are such beautiful women. Well, she came over and she brought me the challah and the candles and introduced me to what Temple Bethel, and made me feel like, well, this is a really beautiful family. I'll never forget that, and she knows that because I talked to her about that at her birthday party. But thank you again, and Ruth, we think of you every day. We love you so much. And now, Susie, I have a little funny story. Well, Susie lives near me, and so we get together and we exchange food sometimes. So it was around Thanksgiving, and I had a nice pumpkin pie, and I thought, oh, I'll bring Susie a nice piece of the pumpkin pie. Well, I go over all happy, thinking she's going to like this. She looks at me, and her face drops. I said, Susie, what's wrong? Elise, don't bring pumpkin.
I lived on pumpkin soup the whole time on the farm there in France. But my God, so a memory of what you talked about with food. Shats, they survived a lot on pumpkin, thank God. But she didn't want any more pumpkin.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz. Any other one who would like to add his or her thoughts?
I would like to share, Rabbi, that
Please.
when Brian and I and our then son, now daughter, moved to Riverside in 2001, I had a difficult transition between the congregation we were members of up in San Jose and coming to Riverside. It was just so very different. And the warmth and the authenticity that we received from Ruth and Arnie, they surpassed what I expected. And they were instrumental in me hanging in there and eventually converting to Judaism. And that that support that they provided has always been a constant. And that has touched me deeply because I did not feel welcome when we came to Temple Bethel. It was a different day. We had a much different, it was just different. And we were a brand new experience for Temple Bethel. We were a gay couple. We had a child and people couldn't figure that out. It was just, it was a lonely time. And Arnie and Ruth were intentional about always greeting us, always letting us know that they were glad that we were there, and they wanted us to always feel as if this was our home. And eventually it did become. And so they truly played a very instrumental part in us being affiliated with Temple Bethel. And I am to this day so very grateful for that connection, as well as with Susie and the others who have gone before us. When we first arrived, there were probably about a dozen survivors, maybe. And so the story continues, and we are grateful for the truth beyond their words, but the intention of their hearts and how they continue to touch our lives. So thank you for this opportunity to share that publicly, and I've also shared that privately with Ruth, and they are a blessing, and may they continue to be so as they bless one another and our lives. Thank you.
We love you too, Randy.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Randy, for sharing these important feelings. Any other one who would like to talk and share your... One important thing about we need to consider that it's important for us to listen, to know these stories, and to tell these stories. We need to tell these stories to the new generations, and it's very important. Yes, we are talking about 2 or 3 generations after the Holocaust, and we need to talk and we need to tell the stories, because if we don't mind about these stories, no other ones are going to come and to tell these stories. Their own families, but we are family, okay? We need to consider ourselves family of relative of Ruth, of Susie. We need to tell their stories, and we need to listen their stories, and we need to repeat these stories, and we need to multiply these stories, because it's very important. They trying to do with us the same that they did 8 years ago, just 8 years ago. We are feeling in this 21st century the hate of others in the same way, perhaps, that they feel 8 years ago. It's something that it's impossible to understand how the humanity can erase the memory, and how a great part of our neighbors, our friends, don't like to see or don't like to listen these kind of stories. I was thinking about my visit to the Czech Republic, and in front of the river in Prague, it's a memorial with shoes in the Danube, we say in Spanish Danubio. I don't know how you say, and it's important. And this shows the place where the Nazis killed the Jews. Yes, they just throw the Jews into the river. And I was really shocked that yesterday or 2 days ago, in the main square in Amsterdam, the Palestinians did the same. They put a lot of shoes showing that the Israeli kills the Palestinian people. Look what they did. They did in the Holocaust Day. They put shoes to create or to recreate the same monument that we have in Prague. And they are talking about genocide, and they are talking about Holocaust and this and that. And we see how they're trying to change the story. This is really why we need to talk about the real story. And this is important to share these stories because we have survivors just around us, and we need to recognize them, and we need to listen them. Because it's an unique opportunity that we have to listen their stories. They are not talking about through books. It's their lives. Nobody is going to change their stories. You are not going to say that it's not true. It's her life. It's Susie's life. You can't say that this doesn't happen. No, yes, this happened, and they are direct witness for this sad story. And this is the way that I wanted to remember Yom HaShoah v'HaGevurah in this year, 2026. I would like to thank all of you, and especially I would like to thank Ruth Geller, Karen, for make this bridge, and thank you very much also, Ben, for being there. Because you are the second and the third generation for a family of survivors, but we are feeling, all of us are feeling part of this family. Let's continue to celebrate life. Let's continue to celebrate our Judaism. I invite you tomorrow to join me for the Shabbat service in person, online. You are very welcome. And we have many. This is a part of the story, not nice story of our people. We have other stories. Next week, we are going to celebrate Yom HaAtzmaut. This is the other side of the story, the Israel Independence Day. This is the other part of the story. Okay, and one thing that it's completely different for that story, it's that now we have a strong state and we can defend ourselves from the enemies. And this is something that the enemies don't like, to see how the Jews can defend themselves against the hate and against who are trying to kill us as a people. Okay? They didn't have a state to defend them. They didn't have guns, so they didn't have air force. Now we have a strong state that it's not just caring about the Jews who are living in the state of Israel. They are taking care about Jews all around the world. Thank you very much once again. Have a wonderful night, and I hope to see you tomorrow to celebrate Shabbat.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
so much, Rabbi.
Thank you, everyone, and Rabbi, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, Ruth.
Night, everyone.